And a very good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to USITT New at Noon. My name is Cody, and I'll be your host of these New at Noon segments every Monday through Thursday, right here on Facebook Live and Zoom at 12 noon Eastern Time. Now, although our conference may have been canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, our USITT's commitment to education and training has not and will not stop. Each and every Monday through Thursday, USITT will bring you at least 2 educational sessions right here via our virtual platform on Zoom. These sessions will be New at Noon and Forum at 4. So what are these new segments? Well, New at Noon will bring you, is very similar to our new product showcase, which would have been in Houston at our annual conference. The new product showcase usually showcases obviously new products as well as new companies that were set to exhibit with us in Houston. We'll also be bringing you new and emerging technologies throughout the week right here on New at Noon. Now, our other series, Forum at 4, takes those sessions that would be traditionally presented to you at our annual conference and translates them to our new virtual world here via Zoom. More information on all of these segments and educational sessions can be found on our website at www.usitt.org. The great thing about these webinar series is that you still get a chance to really get involved and get your questions answered by industry experts via our virtual platform. For those of you that may have questions today throughout our webinar, please feel free to use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen there. We do encourage questions. It really helps us engage with our audience. So be sure to submit those questions via the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, also the chat feature there. And for those of you watching on Facebook Live, you can just leave your questions in the comments field, and we'll be sure to get those answered live here on the webinar today. Now, we're excited today to have Luke Delwich from ETC join us. ETC is a huge supporter of USITT and has been for many years. Luke, welcome to New at Noon. And before we get started, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and electronic theater controls, please, Luke?
Sure. Thanks, Cody. And thanks, everybody, for joining us. As you said, my name is Luke Delwich, and I am the Entertainment Market Manager at ETC. Entertainment covers a wide range of territory, and that's all of our fixtures and rigging equipment, networking, consoles, and some power controls as well. So I joined ETC in 1998 in our technical support department. And since then, I've worked in the R&D department and in sales and now in marketing. So I have a lot of history with the company and also with installing equipment. I was a field service engineer for many years. So I've been inside and on equipment racks as much as the next guy. So thanks for having me. ETC is, as you said, a big supporter of USITT. We are a US-based company based in Middleton, Wisconsin, here in the US. We're an employee-owned company as well, so I'm very proud to say that you are getting this webinar from one of the owners of ETC. So today, we're going to talk about our new range of Opto-Splitters within the Response family. And if it sounds good to you, Cody, I'll just take it away.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Great. Well, a lot of people, and I'll just share my screen here. Make sure this is working.
Perfect. So
I wanted to start with a sort of a brief discussion about the Response family. And Response is ETC's family of data distribution and conversion products. On the left in the image here, you can see what we call our architectural gateways. And these are gateways that convert from one protocol to another, in this case, from network or DMX to 0 to 10 volt. We also have an analog IO version. The name indicates what that translates to in between, and also a DALI gateway. Over on the right side, you'll see the show control gateway series. So these are 3 different ones in 2 different form factors, converting SMPTE, MIDI, and serial. I will promote that tomorrow we start our first of a series of webinars hosted on ETC's study hall platform about show control. So we're going to be talking about time code to start off with tomorrow. So check out the study hall on etcconnect.com for more details on that. Just next to that on the picture, you'll see our DMX gateways, and these are streaming ACN to DMX and vice versa converters. There's various different types of form factors here. There's a 1-port, a 2-port, and a 4-port, and then all of those are also available in a DIN rail format. Now, throughout, if you have any questions, not just about the Opto-Splitters, which we're going to get to next, but any of these products, feel free to ask that in the Q&A panel, and we'll answer those questions. So this is a bigger view you can see of the new Opto-Splitter range. It's a variety of different sizes. You can see that there's the 19-inch rack mount form factor, and then a DIN rail and some wall mount boxes. And the first question that we often get, and people say, okay, DMX splitters, cool. DMX splitters have been around for a long time. Why now? Why are you releasing a new range of Opto-Splitters now? And the short answer is that we've seen a lot of trends in venues of all sizes, even the most modest system, for more and more intelligent lights. LED lights, of course, are a big part of that. And we don't see that trend stopping anytime soon. A big part of that trend that we've seen is toward LED tape, and anybody that's worked with LED tape knows that it is data hungry, and you can quickly get into needing 10, 12, 50 ports of DMX output to control those. And we wanted to offer a range of products that allow people to have a complete system of data distribution from ETC. So getting to start off with the rack mount splitters, there's 3 different varieties of this. There's the 5-pin XLR variety. You can see that one on the top. And this is going to be the most popular type with entertainment venues and touring applications, shows going on the road. Obviously, a 5-pin XLR is the standard for DMX, and that's a very reliable connector, and that's what we see most of. Now, we also have a terminal variety of this, and that's the second one down here. This uses a 3-pin terminal, and there's actually 2 different options for the terminal plugs that you plug in, whether you want a screw terminal for using stranded cabling, or there's also an IDC, or insulation displacement connector, for punching down for more of a permanent installation scenario. We see a lot of these going into large buildings, especially more architectural at that point, where they want to have a lot of DMX distribution around a venue, but it's all permanently installed, and maybe it's Cat5e, Cat6 cable that they're using for that. And the bottom one, also obviously designed for Cat cable, is the RJ45 version. This is probably the most popular one for large-scale DMX distributions, using standard Ethernet, although it's not Ethernet, of course, it's using that Cat cable for DMX distribution. But there's a lot of advantages in a large distribution system to using category cable like that. For one thing, it's very cheap, and it's something that in a new build, the electrical contractor will have miles and miles and miles of just ready to install. The rack mount versions that we're seeing have some kind of neat features. For one thing, the rack mount ears can swap between the front and the back. Okay, you might think that's not that exciting. A lot of equipment has that. One thing that we've added to this range is the ability to, and you can see it on the front here, and kind of showing the plate removed on the top. You can decide whether you want the power to come in the front or the back of the unit. So what this leads to, between the rack ears and that power being able to move, is you can really decide how do you want your connectors to appear. Do you want power on the back, connectors out the front, like you see in the second one here in the list? Do you want everything on the front so that it's accessible? That might be, and this is showing the terminal version. This is absolutely true of the XLR and the RJ45 as well. Maybe you want everything exposed on the front in a touring application because you want to definitely be able to get to those connectors. In a more permanent installation, you might have something like what you see on the bottom, where everything is pointing out the back. On the front, you only see the label and the status, and you don't have to worry that somebody's going to come along and open the door of the equipment rack and unplug it. So some kind of neat innovation there. We also have the DIN rail variety. For those who aren't familiar with DIN rail, they're very popular, more and more popular in the US. They've always been popular in Europe. And this allows for a permanent installation, more like in a wiring closet. It's a small unit, which means it can kind of be hidden just about anywhere. Same exact technology inside this, just in a different form factor. This one is only offered with the terminal variety that you can see here. Typically, something like this, you wouldn't use an RJ45 or a XLR connector. And that same DIN rail unit is also offered in a standard product with one or two of them in a box with a power supply for a wall mount application. We call this a contractor's best friend. The last thing a lot of contractors want to do is have to source a small equipment rack and mount it to the wall and figure out how they're going to get power to it or provide a mains voltage to low voltage power supply. They just want a box that comes out of its cardboard box and goes on the wall, and they punch in the connectors that they need. So those are sort of the three main varieties that we offer. Now, I would also say, and I'm going to show it here, that I think about a year and a half ago or so, we launched the Color Source Raceway, and this is a budget-friendly all-aluminum construction raceway with up to 6 circuits in it. The reason I talk about it here is that this actually uses the exact same technology that's in the Opto-Splitters, and this and each of these connectors then that you can see here, the DMX connectors, is an optically isolated output, meaning that you now have a 72-foot long Opto-Splitter. And so that's something I wanted to clarify here, because I think sometimes it helps for people to look at something like this and say, oh, I get it. It's my raceway, my whole raceway is an Opto-Splitter. One of the kind of this is just a slide showing a typical DMX riser. Now, obviously, this is grossly oversimplified. If you're going to have 3 splitters, you're going to probably have a lot more lights than what I'm showing here. I'm also showing a number of color source lights, but these could be and will be various different types: moving lights, different LED fixtures, dimmer packs, anything that takes DMX. And this is a sort of typical DMX riser. One of the things that we've found throughout our research into this is a lot of people said, splitters are great. The problem is whenever I come to do a fixture update, a firmware update on ETC's fixtures, Opto-Splitters are not supported. So it means if I wanted to go in here and update the firmware on these color source spots, I would have to unplug that cable, plug it in to my either my Gadget 2 or my network gateway directly, update those fixtures, replug it, and it's just a really labor-intensive operation to go around through 10, 20, 30, 40 strings of DMX, unplug them to update them. One of the things that we were able to do in the new Opto-Splitter range is to support that fixture update directly through the Opto-Splitter. And what we talk about that as being, you don't have to fight your infrastructure in order to keep up to date. So you can see in the illustration here, computer running our software called Updaterator. This goes out, finds the things that can be updated. This is running through a Gadget 2. This could also run through one of our Net 3 or our latest generation response DMX gateways. And it's able to send that fixture update, that firmware update, to all of these fixtures without unplugging all of the cables and going through and making sure they're plugged back in the right place. This is supported on all of our color source fixtures, on the Desire and Source 4 LED fixtures, Source Forward, the brand new phosphor panel, which we announced a couple of months ago, and some other devices. So this is really probably one of the really compelling features of the new Opto-Splitter range. So just as a reminder and sort of a view of all of them in one place, here is a comparison chart between them. You can see the 3 rack mount varieties with 12 or 16 ports, all the different varieties, their sizes, what kind of power they take, the DIN rail, the Opto boxes, and the color source raceway. And I do like the fact that from the DIN rail, it's 9 DIN units. In the color source raceway, it's an Opto-Splitter that's up to 22 meters long. So I'd welcome any questions and answers that people may have now. I don't know, I haven't been monitoring the chat to see what's come in, but
yeah, and Luke, we had one question, but you answered it in your presentation. So if anyone else, any of our viewers on either Facebook or Zoom have any questions, feel free to ask. Luke, this is an amazing product. I used to work in the cruise ship industry for a while, and I know that updating that firmware on those fixtures can be a hassle. But this is, taking a lot of those steps out of it, making it a much more streamlined and simplified process. So
yeah, one thing I'll say is now working in marketing in our product development team is compared to my time in field service, I now find with a lot of these new products, I'm jealous. And I wish I had had that when I was doing field service, because I think, oh man, I had to jump through so many hoops to do these sort of things. So
it would have made life much more simpler.
Yeah.
We have a question coming on Zoom. Will this work in a smaller theater with the size of 440 seats? It's an older theater.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the sort of taglines that we use for the Opto-Splitters is data distribution for systems large or small. And, whether you're talking about tens or 20s or hundreds of lines of DMX, or maybe, just a small number, 1, 2, 3, the advantages are exactly the same. And so this, yes, this is a good question. It will absolutely work in a smaller theater with the size of 440 seats. And which one, it's a kind of a question of what technology is being used right now, whether it's a bunch of loose XLR cables or whether there is a more sort of a structured cabling plant going in. We try to have a solution for any of those. So, yeah.
Perfect. And the age of the theater doesn't matter. It's just the infrastructure that's inside of it, correct?
That's right. Yep, absolutely. I've lost my train of thought. I'm not sure what I was going to say with the "and" there. But yep. I hope that answers the question. I will say that we're also running all day today an Instagram Q&A session, which allows people to ask questions. And the topic is essentially anything about DMX or networked system design. And so if you do have questions that pop up throughout the day or other burning questions that you want to have, feel free to put them on our Instagram page. You can ask them on Facebook, or feel free to email me directly. I'm happy to help. My email address, fortunately, as I said, I've been with the company since the 90s. So my email address is luke@etcconnect.com.
Awesome, perfect. And we'll make sure to get all that information up on our social channels as well. We do have another question came in from Jessica. Does this allow you to update firmware for non-ATC fixtures through it?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. The short answer is no. And the reason for that is that kind of each firmware update is specific to a manufacturer. The way that they do their firmware updates, it's not a standard. It's not using DMX directly. It's not using RDM. RDM is not really capable of doing that. It's using that physical DMX wiring, but sending a different signal down it. And the Opto-Splitters need to understand that packet technology in order to split it out to everybody. So that's why we're able to sort of support the software, the firmware updates for our fixtures via these splitters, but we wouldn't be able to support other manufacturers' methods.
Okay, perfect. Let me just go to the chat really quickly. We have another question from Michael. Michael asks, is the CAT version able to be used like a switch, or does it only send one universe?
It is still one universe. So it is not a switch. It is exactly the same as the XLR version, except using I believe these are Cat 5E connectors. I don't think that they're Cat 6. For DMX, it's completely not necessary to use something as high spec as a Cat 6 connector, but it is still just DMX. And there's a standard out there for what pin out and all these sort of things when using CAT cables and RJ45s, what pin out to use for DMX. What we see like this is going into an equipment rack.
Whoops.
Connector panel.
Hey, Luke, we lost your audio there for just about 15 seconds. So maybe if you just want to, can you rewind and let us know what you were saying there?
Sure. I'm not sure what if I remember what I said. The short answer is that this is not a switch. This is a DMX splitter. So as a result, it is just one universe. The DMX coming in is optically isolated on all of those 16 or 12 outputs on the, but it is not doing any kind of signal regeneration in terms of protocol to another. It is an Opto splitter.
Okay.
Paul as well, kind of related.
Yeah, let me just see what that one is. I think every time you turn in your head, I don't know if there's a short in the cable or something. Every time you turn in your head, though, it's shifting in and out of the audio.
I'll try to look directly forward.
Sorry. Paul says, is there a version planned for incorporating the ability to route different universes to different ports, a sort of hybrid between the Opto-Splitter and the DMX gateways?
It's an interesting question. It is something we've looked at, and certainly not ruling it out. What we really wanted to produce with this range is a really dead simple device that doesn't have, it really doesn't even have a user interface. The ability to just say, I want what's coming in here to go out. It is an interesting notion to have a sort of hybrid between an Opto-Splitter and a DMX gateway. So who knows? Who knows what the future might hold?
Awesome. We have another question that came through the chat. With expanding universe counts, will opto repeaters still be relevant in 2, 5, 8 years? Basically, with emerging technologies changing every day, what's the sort of longevity of the Opto-Splitter?
I think if you'd asked me that question 10 years ago, I'd be on their way out. And I think what happened is, yes, there's more and more universes, there's more and more outputs happening, but as a result of that, there's just as much need for an Opto-Splitter now as it was 10 or 15 years ago. I have 600 intelligent devices. I'm not going to have 600 individual ports of a DMX gateway to feed those devices. I'm still going to have a lot of them on the same DMX universe. So my feeling is relevant in 2, 5, 8 years.
Okay, perfect. And we have a question from one of our Facebook viewers. Tyler's asking if you know the MSRP on a DMX rack mount version of this. I know these are obviously sold through a distributor, so I didn't know if you had that, but
yeah, I mean, I would say that you're probably best to talk to one of our dealers to get a price on that. I have to say I don't actually have it off the top of my head. I can look that up, but you're going to definitely get your best answer on sort of your price as opposed to a list price by talking to one of our dealers. And we have a dealer list. If you do, which hopefully you do, we do have a dealer list on our website. We can sort of route you to your nearest nearest dealer, or I'm just looking it up here. The 12-port XLR, for example, the MSRP on that is $1,000, but be paying list price. So I would encourage you to see what offer to it for. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, no, definitely check with those dealers and distributors out there to see what your best pricing options could be.
Yep.
I'm just looking to see. I don't think we have any other questions. Sorry, I'm looking at about 7 different screens here, so I'm not looking at the camera that's happening. Luke, do you have anything else to add then?
I don't think so. I'm going to look into why suddenly the very first time is having problems, but besides that, I think that's what I came to say.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you so much. And yeah, I don't know, there must be a little short in the connection or something. I don't know. Every time you're turning, it just shorts out a bit. So check that out before your next Zoom call.
Yeah, we'll do.
Wait 1 second. Someone is saying, oh, we didn't hear anything. We didn't hear any of that about your microphone, ironically. Just a comment there. So definitely we will get all of this information posted up on our social channels that will include the ETC study hall that Luke spoke about with all of those offerings as well. So we'll get that up on our social channels for everyone to see, as well as that USITT resources page that we keep updated with all of our industry partners, training and online availability. So thank you, Luke, and thank you so much to ETC again for all of your years of tremendous support for our institution. And we will look forward to seeing you guys back in Columbus.
Yeah, thank you, Cody. We look forward to it.
Perfect. Thank you. To all of our viewers out there, we hope that you've enjoyed the session today, and we look forward to welcoming you to another one of our online education and training sessions in the near future. Coming up this afternoon, we have 2 different sessions, again at 4 p.m. to choose from. for our Forum at 4 series. We'll be presenting Student Early Career Technical Directors Roundtable, which provides access to a diverse set of panelists addressing issues that are most relevant to technical directors in the student and early career demographics. So be sure to check that out if that fits you. Our other session is Mic Sanitation Tips, which is being presented by Joe Cotta and our friends at Point Source Audio. So a really relevant topic as we get back into our normal life and getting our theaters back up and running. So be sure to check that out as well. Then tomorrow, right back here at on New at Noon, we'll be talking with Jake McCoy. He's from RWS Entertainment Group about their experiences crash course. So another session not to be missed. That's coming up tomorrow right here at 12 noon Eastern. If you haven't already registered for these sessions, please do so on our website. That's usitt.org. You can find more information on all of our sessions on that website as well. And while you're at it, make sure to like us on all of our social media platforms. That's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter to stay up to date on all of our USITT news and updates. Just a reminder that those webinars are posted every Friday for the following week. So be sure to check on Fridays. And for the Zoom accounts, there is a limited number of registrants. So if it is of interest to you, be sure to go ahead and register for it. We'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our friends at the American Society for Theater Consultants for their generous support excuse me, in making these webinars and broadcasts possible. So thank you to our friends at ASTC. We really appreciate that. And also at the moment, if you have a moment at the completion of this webinar, you'll be prompted to take a short survey. This is just to give us some feedback on the content that we're presenting to make sure that we are bringing the best content that you need during this time. So if you have a moment, please complete that survey for us. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to Luke and ATC as well. On behalf of all of us at USITT and ETC, we would wish you all the best. Have a great afternoon, everyone. We'll see you right back here at 4 p.m. Eastern time and again tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.